ready. 안녕하십니까? 지금부터 지속가능원에서 주관하는 체인지메이커스 특강을 시작하겠습니다. 저는 사회를 맡은 경영대학 학장 김원수입니다. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Changemakers Guest Lecture Series organized by the Institute for Sustainability. I'm Eunsu Kim, Dean of Business School. We have a very high-profile guest speakers today. 오늘의 행사는 한국말과 영어 약간 믹스되겠는데 주로 이제 영어로 진행이 되겠습니다. 그래서 reflecting the age of AI, we decided to try the live translation service. If you haven't done so, please take out your smartphones and link to the service through QR code. And in front of you on the desk, follow the instruction. They're supposed to go switching back and forth between English and Korea freely. If you have earphones with you, you can listen to the voice service also. The company Flito, founded by our business school graduate, Mr. 이정수, was gracious enough to provide today's translation service for free. Okay, is everybody ready? Let's begin. 먼저 내 웨빈을 소개해 드리겠습니다. 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. Korea University President 김동원 총장님 소개해 드립니다. Next is today's guest of honor, Mr. Harold Hamm, Chairman of Continental Resources. Please. Mr. Jeff Hume, Vice Chairman of Continental Resources. Executive Vice President for Research, 유혁 연구부총장님. 네, 국제학과 International Affairs 김성환 교수님. Director of Institute for Sustainability, Professor 신재혁. 오늘 대담자로 수고해 주실 SK그룹 유정준 부회장님, Vice Chairman and CEO of SK-On. 최동수 고문님, former CEO of SK Innovation EMP and currently advisor at SK Earthon. And 전종영 사장님, CEO of SK E&S LNG Americas. Last but not least, Mr. Alan Jamerson, Director of SK Americas. Welcome. 이 외에도 많은 중요한 분들이 오셨지만 시간 관계상 내 웨빈 소개는 여기서 마치도록 하겠습니다. 자, 그럼 바로 이어서 김동원 총장님의 환영사가 있겠습니다. 역시 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.
존경하는 해럴드 햄 회장님, 그리고 오늘 이 자리에 함께해 주신 내외 귀빈 여러분, 대단히 반갑습니다. 먼저 오늘 고려대학교 체인지메이커즈 해외연사 특강에서 강연을 해주실 해럴드 햄 회장님께 진심 어린 감사와 환영의 말씀을 드립니다. 오늘 이 강연을 위해서 오클라호마에서 이까지 날아오셔서 오늘 중요한 말씀을 해주시게 되었습니다. 이 강연은 고려대학교가 내년에 맞이하는 개교 120주년을 기념하여 개최하는 행사입니다. 고려대학교는 1905년 한국 최초의 근대적 고등교육기관으로 개교했습니다. 교육을 통해 나라를 구한다라는 건학 이념으로 개교한 고려대학교는 한국의 독립과 산업화, 민주화, 세계화에 앞장서 왔습니다. 개교 120주년을 맞이해 고려대학교는 이제 세계를 무대로 인류의 미래사회에 공헌하는 대학으로 한 차원 더 높게 도약하고자 합니다. 인류 공헌이라는 원대한 비전의 실현을 위해 고려대학교는 연구와 교육, 행정 모든 면에서 다양하고 새로운 프로그램을 진행하고 있고 소프트웨어와 하드웨어에서 한 단계 이상 업그레이드를 하려고 노력을 하고 있습니다. 체인지 메이커스 프로젝트는 대학이 지역과 공동체에 대한 사회적 책임성을 자임하며 세상을 변화시킬 인재를 길러내고자 추진하고 있습니다. 오늘 소중한 특강을 해주실 해롤드 햄 회장님은 셰일가스 생산의 혁명적 변화를 일으키심으로써 세계 에너지 시장과 정책의 패러다임을 바꾼 분입니다. 컨티넨탈 리소시스의 창업자이자 최고 경영자로서 2012년 미국 타임즈에서 세계에서 가장 영향 있는 사람 100인에 선정되기도 했습니다. 더욱 중요한 것은 이분은 자수성가를 한 아주 바닥에서 아주 높은 자리까지 스스로 혼자의 힘으로 올라간 분이라는 점이 중요하고 아마 여러분들이 오늘 많은 것을 느낄 수 있는 그런 시간이 될 걸로 생각을 합니다. 선구자적인 체인지 메이커이신 해롤드 회장님의 오늘 특징은 불가능해 보이는 일에 도전하여 우리가 직면한 지구적 난제를 어떻게 해결할 수 있을지에 대한 큰 영감과 교훈을 주실 것입니다. 오늘 강연을 통해 얻은 지식과 영감을 바탕으로 우리 고려대학교 구성원들이 각자의 분야에서 지속 가능한 미래를 위해 변화를 만들어가는 체인지 메이커로 활동해 주시기를 기대합니다. 오늘 해롤드 햄 회장님께서 체인지 메이커를 꿈꾸는 고려대 구성원들의 멘토가 되어 주실 것입니다. 다시 한번 해롤드 햄 회장님께 깊이 감사를 드립니다. 아울러 오늘 함께 하실 자리를 빛내주신 제프 휴움 부회장님, 유정준 SK그룹 부회장님과 그룹 관계자님들 그리고 행사 준비에 애써주신 고려대학교 지속가능원 신재욱 원장님과 실무자 여러분께도 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 오늘 강연이 모든 분께 유익하고 값진 시간이 되기를 기대합니다. 감사합니다.
네, 감사합니다. 총장님 잠깐만 단상에 머물러 주시면, if you could stay just on the stage for a minute, we will have a brief photo shoot with the Chairman Ham and JJU, please. Please step up to the stage. Yeah, we will have another photo with everybody else toward the end. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Please step down. Yeah. Yeah, that way. Yeah. Please step down for a while. Yeah. I will introduce now our guest speakers. If you could. Yeah. Once again, if you haven't done so, the QR code, I think it's doing pretty nice job of translating English and Korean back and forth. So on your way out, I think you'll be given a copy of his book, translated version. There you go. So the QR code in front of you, the tablets, it is doing the translation for you. It is my great pleasure to introduce the world-renowned figure as a speaker to you today. Last May this year, I had a lunch in New York with my longtime friend, JJ 유정준 부회장님. While catching up and talking about our future plans, JJ mentioned a certain name as a big shot and a tycoon in the energy business. It was none other than Chairman Hamm. And then I think it was the last June or so when VP of Student Affairs, Professor Park Hyun-suk, asked me to introduce a guest speaker at our Changemakers event in fall, which is today. Again, it was none other than Chairman Hamm. So what a coincidence. So I feel like I've known him for a long time. Mr. Hamm is author of Game Changer, what you just saw, a national bestseller with more than 60,000 copies sold. And what a fitting title for our today's event, right? This is Change Makers. And today's lecture topic also is Game Changer, Horizontal Drilling's Impact on America and the World. So our business school and our university overall wants to produce business leaders who understand what I call four techs, four technologies: AI, AI-oriented semiconductors, AI-applied robotics, and the foundation of all, the energy business, so that they can work with and lead the engineers and technical experts. You must have heard how much electricity AI data centers consume these days. Today, we already have AI running, right? And the live translation service. And it was supposed to be pre-trained yesterday in order to catch Chairman Hamm's southern Oklahoma accent. Let's see how it does. Then we have a pioneer in the energy business himself. So we got at least 2 bases covered out of 4 texts. Before introducing the speakers, let me briefly go over the energy company Chairman Hamm founded, Continental Resources. Continental Resources is the largest independent oil and gas producer other than so-called oil majors such as ExxonMobil, you're familiar with. If you may pay attention to the second from the bottom, to the last line of the slide, it says the annual production is 161 million barrels. 1억 6천만 barrel. Let me put you into perspective how much this is. I was told that Korea, our country, consumes about 2 million barrels of oil a day. That makes about 300 million barrels a year. So 300 million versus 161 million. Right? So Continental Resources alone produces more than half, 50% of entire Korea's oil consumption. And this slide shows you the overwhelming scale of Continental Resources. Now, I'll go over the main contents of Chairman Hamm's book briefly because I think it'll give you a good idea about who he is, where he came from, and what he has achieved. Born in Lexington, Oklahoma, Harold Hamm created Continental Resources at the very young age of 21. Okay? Last time I checked, Lexington still has the population of about 2,000. Quite small town. He found his interest in oil business while he was in high school. His first line of business was trucking, but not just any trucking. It was oil tank truck. Mr. Hamm has grown Continental Resources into the largest privately held oil and gas producer in the world, with assets in America's 4 premier oil field plays. Mr. Hamm has dedicated his entire life to being a tireless advocate for American oil and gas and its many benefits to humanity. Above all, he is widely recognized for advancing horizontal drilling in America. One peculiar event, if you look at the red characters, one peculiar event that shows his broad and forward-looking perspective is, in 1982, he sold his oil rig business for $32 million. But in the same year, when the market situation deteriorated, he bought oil wells at highly discounted prices. It went out. And, I'll keep going. Please bring the screen up, please. I'll keep on going. And he bought back, actually this is important, he bought back the very same oil rig business he sold at 1/10, 10분의 1, 1/10 of the original price. So he moves in a sort of counterintuitive way in doing business. His biggest achievement, of course, is pioneering and commercializing a disruptive technology, the horizontal drilling. If you read his book, you will come across this area called Bakken, which is important in his career. When he was preparing for IPO, initial public offering, to raise capital to try and commercially prove the horizontal drilling, 2 other companies publicly announced there was no commercially viable oil reserve in the area, which obviously had a very negative impact on the expected IPO share price. Nevertheless, he charged on and pushed IPO. Investing that money, he proved that he was right. It was year 2007. Based on his technological success, there was a big commercial success right next year in 2008. By 2010, Continental Resources was the leading company, and all the competitors, including majors, started following and adopting the horizontal drilling. And it was the inflection point of America's energy independence that Chairman Hamm was dreaming of. Now, I was suggested that we might as well have some idea about the horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracking. Thank you. Yeah, right here. The traditional method of finding oil is, I was told, like pinpointing and vertically drilling to the sort of jar full of oil, which isn't exactly easy, can be quite expensive. On the contrary, the horizontal drilling is extracting oil from the rocks already containing oil. So it's like squeezing water out of damp sponges, which with much lower cost and much higher probability. So how did I do, Mr. Hamm? Okay. So in addition to his work at Continental, he co-founded and serves as executive chairman of the Domestic Energy Producers Alliance, so the acronym DEPA. Through DEPA, Mr. Hamm is recognized as a man who worked tirelessly to help lift America's 40-year-old ban on U.S. crude oil exports. These efforts cleared the way for the American energy renaissance, securing energy independence in 2019. So, adding on his business acumen and technological leadership, he's now having even political influence that you read from the newspapers. Along with industry advocacy, Mr. Hamm is a national leader in promoting health and education. He has gifted more than $60 million to establish the Harold Hamm Diabetes Center at the University of Oklahoma with the mission of eradicating diabetes. He has also given generously to the University of North Dakota and the University of Mary to establish engineering colleges at both schools. Most recently, Mr. Hamm joined Continental Resources to create the Hamm Institute for American Energy at Oklahoma State University. The combined $50 million gift established the Hamm Institute as a center for all things American energy with the goal of solving humanity's greatest energy challenges. So that is Mr. Hamm's profile that this one-page slide cannot fully capture. What's amazing about him is that Mr. Hamm didn't just depend on his gut instincts or intuition in doing the business. His decisions are always data-driven, and he was able to read the macro factors and variables and utilize the expert groups. So it's science, not intuition. Mr. Hamm has received numerous awards and recognition for his contributions, including being named Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People in the World, Plaid Global Energy's Lifetime Achievement Award, and Ernst Young's Entrepreneur of the Year. I'm getting to the end, just be patient. He was also featured on the cover page of Forbes as the man of Bakken. Yeah, it reads, I don't know whether you can make it out, the most disruptive oil man since Rockefeller. That's his status. But perhaps the headline that captures his influence and status most succinctly would be the man who sits at that head table with the President of the United States. Finally, I think he will explain during his talk the difference between the traditional oil production method and the horizontal drilling more, perhaps. These pictures show some, these are the familiar pictures to you, right? Extracting oil, but this is not horizontal drilling. This is no more pump jacks, what's called 메뚜기. Okay, so it's very clean. So next, I'd like to briefly, and there's one more important person to introduce. Yeah. Today, instead of one-way speech to the audience, Chairman Hamm will have a kind of fireside chat with another guest, JJU, 유정준 부회장님. He is practically a living legend among Korean professional managers. Look at his bio. He probably is the one who holds the position of high-level executive, 임원, the longest. He started his career as an accountant at Deloitte Touche in New York, and then he came back to Korea as a pioneering member of McKinsey in Seoul. As you see on this slide, his brilliance as a consultant was quickly understood by business corporations, and he was scouted right away by first LG Group, and then SK Group. Well, he has spent almost 30 years of his career as executive. 임원만 30년. Can you believe that? I am delighted to have him as the counterpart of Chairman Hamm for this fireside chat. Now, without further delay, I proudly present Chairman Harold Hamm and JJU to you. So you will spend about 30 minutes or so. Please give them a very warm welcome. Please step up and lift the screen, please. Lift the screen, turn it off. 네, 스크린 올려주시고 꺼주십시오. 네. 네, 편하신 대로 마이크 유닛. 네. So you need to speak into mic, so that AI can capture the sound and translate for you.
Thank you.
May I start? Okay. I will speak in Korean at the beginning. 여러분 만나뵙게 돼서 너무 반갑습니다. 저는 고대 경영학과 81학번입니다. 지금 방금 소개한 김원수 교수하고 같이 학교 다녔고요. 김원수 교수님은 4년 동안 다혜이 받았고 저는 저 바닥을 깔고 있었습니다. 그리고 일리노이 또 같이 공부했었고요. 회계사로 뉴욕에서 좀 일을 했었고요. 하여튼 오늘 이렇게 후배들, 저는 사실 외부 강연 요청이 많이 있었는데 한 번도 안 했었습니다. 이번에 근데 오늘은 우리 햄 회장님이 메인 또 소개하시고 싶은 분이기도 하고 해서 단순히 뭐 석유를 통해서 돈을 많이 벌었다라는 분이라면 모시지 않았을 거고요. 나중에 이제 제가 좀 질문을 좀 많이 하겠지만 오클라호마에서 13남매 사실은 소장농의 아들로 태어나신 분입니다. 자기 땅도 없고 그래서 그 책 앞부분에 보시면은 목화 1파운드 따려고 허리가 끊어지도록 하루 종일 면을 따고 뭐 그랬던 거기서부터 출발해서 지금 거부가 됐는데 그 과정이 젊은 사람들한테 좀 도움이 되지 않을까 싶어서 사실은 기꺼이 응했습니다. 제 얘기를 들으려고 모인 건 아니니까 오늘 이제 좀 시작을 하겠습니다. Mr. Hamm, I will ask you some questions for our audience, and you made a lot of success in many different dimensions, and you have multiple phases of success. You are energy icon, and the pioneer in technology development and innovation, and also rule setter, changing the policy of US government. And also you are a very successful businessman, self-made billionaire, and growing the Continental Resources, one of the top 10 company in US. But before I talk about all this success, I would like to know that who is Harold Hamm before the success? And where did you come from and how did you get here today? I want to hear your before the success as a human being. Who are you? That might be my question.
Well, unfortunately, I'm a very simple person, and I am so honored to be here today. You get what you strive for, and striving for great leaders from a group like this is exactly what you need to focus on. And you're doing just the right thing here at this university. So, Dean, your work's going to be fully rewarded. But you do start out, seeking a livelihood. That's where much of you, probably your thoughts are today, and your focus is what can I be? But what I was just a very humble person growing up in a very poor family. I was last of 13 kids. My parents were sharecroppers. You may not know what that is, but we didn't own land. We worked the land for someone else. We got a share of the crops. And weather wasn't good. Well, we didn't do very good. A lot of times we didn't do very good. But we all worked as a family unit. And so the one good thing, though, that we had was growing up with some wonderful parents, a great family, teaching us, all the principles of life that would serve us well through time. And, it's all those things stuck with me as I later went on to college, got into business, went to work. It all stuck. But the work ethic, the principles of life that my parents taught me as a young man growing up on a rural community. We grew up on a farm out in the country. And, it was kind of a day-to-day existence sometimes, not knowing if she was going to have enough to eat. It seemed like we always did. But anyway, I guess to describe myself was a simple person wanting to learn. Someone taught me as a little kid, listen to your teachers, learn all you can. Education is a key to breaking the cycle of poverty. And it did with me. That's how I got out of that cycle of poverty that our family was mired up in Oklahoma.
The simple man driving your dreams and goals all the time with basic values. I think as I travel a lot in the United States, clearly the traditional U.S. American culture or values, family, honesty, all those things getting weaker, and money is driving everything. But nevertheless, you have been emphasizing the people all the time in your company and your career. And I'd like to ask about, before I jump into other energy-related, some of you may be from geology or geophysics, but I want to ask general questions about four young generations. So you just mentioned also the previous meeting that the comment to the young generation, have a dream, big goals, and all those things. But I want to ask you that Korean young generation have a lot of challenges, and because starting from scratch, you must have faced a lot of difficulties and challenges, and you never gave up your dream. So were there any moments that you have a doubt about your vision and goal? And how did you overcome those moments of doubt and uncertainty and losing your energies? And what advice would you give to these young gentlemen, students struggling with facing challenges while pursuing their goals and dreams?
Well, first of all, I was very fortunate. I found out very early on what I wanted to do in life. A lot of people, you wander around trying to figure it out. But actually, in high school, I did a thesis on the petroleum industry, and I'd never been around it, but it grasped my young imagination. I was a junior in high school, and the more I studied it, the more I wanted to be one of those explorationists, and so that's what I wanted to become. And I actually wrote a paper. That thesis was very simple. I didn't get a very good grade on it, but I knew what I wanted to be, and so I didn't. It was something. It was a very big dream. So far from it, I didn't even know where to start. But once I started, I knew I couldn't ever waver or quit. And I actually started at the very bottom of the petroleum industry, actually cleaning sludge out of tanks, and started from the bottom up with one truck operation. And anyway, never quit. But I come to, there was points at the beginning. If I'd had one more flat tire, I probably would have been out of business. If I would have made it. But, perseverance with me was I never quit. I never gave up. You know, as tough as it would get, you just knew you could persevere through it. But there's something almost divine about it with me, that somehow inside of me I knew I could get there. I knew that I could achieve it. And I don't know where it came from. You know, maybe it was my upbringing that I mentioned earlier. Maybe that was it. But something gave me that inner faith and made me know that if I would persevere, that I can make it happen and stay true to my beliefs.
그 금방 전에 얘기하셨는데 그 슬러지하고 오일 탱크에 있는 찌꺼기 청소하는 거거든요. 그거부터 시작하셨고, 그 고장난 트럭 펑크 한 번 더 나면은 파산할 뻔했다 그러는데 지금도 뭐 굉장히 험불하게 사세요. 나중에 계시긴 하지만 나중에 좀 말씀을 더 올리겠습니다. I know that you have been involved in many educational initiatives supporting colleges and universities and also supporting young generations. And you strongly advocated for developing leadership, especially in young people. And what do you think are the key qualifications people need to become good leaders, especially young leaders should remember?
Well, there's a lot that goes into leadership, and you know, it's I don't know. I first started thinking about it, and even teaching leadership early on. And first of all, you have to become a leader to teach leadership, to be a leader. So that's the first step. The first step for me was getting out of that first truck and being able to delegate and learn how to lead others to make that first step. And that was a huge step for me to make that one. But you know, and our company is made up, we have tiers and tiers of leaders all the way through it. We call them stars. I'm sure that's what everybody does. But you know, the things that you look for, of course, you know, we have what we call culture of the possible at the company, and you know, it's a no blame culture. You don't ever look behind you and blame anybody. You're looking forward, and you're trying to get your group, to lead that group forward, and hopefully people will follow and become the leaders that you want them to be. But first of all, you select people that you'd think would be that rising star and be those great leaders. Education, a lot of times, is the key to it, of course, and their disciplines and all their disciplines. But there's several keys that you know goes into leadership. Integrity is the number one you're looking for. Somebody that's honest, perfectly honest in everything they do, not trying to fool anybody, and set the example for others by standing up straight and leading the crew. There's so many other principles that it's almost impossible to name them all, but courage. You look for people with courage, somebody that's willing to make the bold moves, the thought leaders that think ahead, like yourself, around the curve, have visionaries. You want all those people that contribute so greatly to make it.
You mentioned about integrity, honesty, and courage, which is very easy to say, but in facing the reality, acting is another one very difficult. People chasing for short-term interest, and sometimes I can tell you, our students that last more than 10 years relation, I've watched that regardless of whatever in the document, once he says something, he keep it. Whether it's profitable or not, doesn't matter. He keeps the word. It's a man of the integrity and honest. I think that might be the factor that bringing the bigger result in the long run, even though you made a deal. So if you read his book, it's all in there. And I think it's because those people who made a big success always talk about the success and how he made a success, but I'm more interested in your failure cases too. Have there been any innovations or you attempted or other cases that ended up in failure? Could you share an interesting example of failures that stand out in your memory? Don't tell me you have no memory, but there must be some failures too.
And our business are called dry holes. And, today, people don't think much about those dry holes that we always used to have with conventional drilling. Using all the best tools possible, you'd wind up drilling dry holes. It wasn't there. The geology didn't match. Something didn't work out, and anyway, or maybe instead of oil and gas, you got water. It didn't sell very good. So yeah, there's a lot of adversity at different times, and so it's changed over the years. But back then, early on in my career, there were times that one more dry hole would have sunk the boat, and you got the most we ever drilled. I think Jeff and I count them up was 17 in a row. 17 dry holes in a row. Yeah. I mean, you'd have to be pretty dumb to do that, right? But we didn't blame it on anybody. We didn't look back. We looked forward. And at that time, our ideas and focus was on large fields and high risk. And we knew that these opportunities that we were after had high risk associated with it. And so what we were going for, we thought was worth it, and it proved to be worth it. It just took a little longer to prove it up.
이제 이분이 아무래도 오일 분야에 있다 보니까 그 오일 시추 분야는 위험이 크고 땅 속에 있는 이게 드릴해서 기름을 찾으면 다행이고 못 찾으면 그 돈 다 날리는 거지 않습니까? 근데 그 17개나 구멍을 뚫었는데 아무것도 안 나오면 그 돈 다 날리는 거죠. 제가 그 지난 20년 넘게 사업하다 보면 제일 비싼 이 드릴은 2억 불이 들었어요. 하나 뚫는데 그 해저 깊은데 우리 동해에 있는 광구도 아마 되게 깊이 뚫어야 될 텐데 2억 불 들여서 시추 하나 하고 안 나오면 날리는 거죠. 근데 17번을 연속했는데도 그런 경우가 많이 있습니다. I'm glad that you never went bankrupt even after 17 in a row dry well. Yeah, that's the record. My memory was 12 in a row. Okay, and I think I will ask about energy transition because we talk too much about oil and gas. I know that young generations may have some opinions about renewables and environmental friendliness questions, but I will ask that question later. But first is another one is you always maintained your passion and principles and not following the money. But in the process, do you have any your success as a self-made billionaire? People always look at your money and success, but in the process of making and achieving your success, did you have any fundamental principles or any habits what you try to stick to in the process of the work? Have you maintained that any belief or principle which you stick to get to the pivotal to your success?
Okay.
fundamental beliefs or in the process, people management or managing your company. Of course, integrity is a general personal things, but in managing your company, there must be some company's credo or some values of the company that you are running.
Well, certainly. I think it's real important to keep your why out there as to, what you're really working, the why. A lot of times we get caught up in the how. Making money is part of that, but what do you really want to achieve? And keeping that why your true north. And I think that it's really important for whoever you are, whether you're a billionaire, whether you don't have anything, to make sure that you know what your why is, what you really want to achieve. So we've had kind of a three-prong process with our foundation and what we want to achieve. We want to, number one, help humanity. Yes. So through health initiative, education meant so much to me that we wanted that to be a part of it. So second thing was education. So we had health, education. And this industry has meant so much to me, the energy industry, that I wanted energy advocacy to be a big part of that. So all those whys lined up for me. That's what I wanted to do. And so this company, if it can, make sure all those things come true in all those areas and help all those areas, then that's what I want to do. But the basic thing for that is all the humanitarian work that we're doing. So energy independence, creating energy independence again for America, and all the good that horizontal drilling has done to bring about energy abundance, being cheap, affordable energy for all those people that have today energy poverty. We're lucky. The 2 billion of us, or 2.5 billion, that have all the energy we need. That's great. But it's those 3 billion that don't. That if we can help bring them out of energy poverty, that's part of the why.
So it's impressive because there's a
Long answer. I'm sorry.
no. So that's a wonderful answer. 그 햄 회장님하고 오래 일을 해보지만은 돈을 미국 100대 부자시니까. 근데 지금 말씀하신 대로 그 돈을 왜 버는가 근데 why 질문을 잘 하세요. 그 문제가 생겨도 어떻게라는 것보다 항상 할 때 왜라는 돈도 그래요. 돈을 왜 벌지? 벌어서 어디다 쓰겠는데 에너지도 그렇습니다. 지금 그 가스를 통해서 값싼 가스를 싸게 환경 친화적으로 개발함으로써 에너지 친환경 에너지도 있지만 에너지를 못 쓰는 문제가 더 큰 문제다. 에너지 퍼버티가 어찌 보면 30억이 넘는 인구가 제대로 된 어포더블한 에너지에 접근을 못하기 때문에 사실은 그래서 미국이 이 셰일가스 레볼루션으로 값싼 가스를 우리나라 가스값의 한 5분의 1 되겠죠. 그 가스값으로 석탄도 대체하고 그거를 어번던트하게 공급함으로써 에너지의 포버티를 해결하겠다라는 그 휴머니티 이야기를 하셨어요. 그래서 제가 보기에는 이거를 유정을 뚫어서 큰 거를 한 몫을 잡자 이런 생각이 아니고 항상 그걸 통해서 사회에 기여하는 방식을 받는다는 거는 책을 보면 다 아시겠지만 늘 굉장히 임프레시브하게 생각을 합니다. 그리고 쉽게 하우에 빠지는데 why에 늘 같이 토론을 많이 하는 거는 늘 그 마지막엔 중요하다는 생각이 듭니다. And I'm asking, but it's about time to ask about energy transitions and all this environmental friendliness, and some people many people nowadays talk about energy transition, renewables changes, and we want to know what role will oil and gas still play in the energy market today, tomorrow, and decades down the road. And furthermore, how would you address those critics who claim that fossil fuels are at odds with the long-term environmental objective? I just explained in Korean that energy poverty may be the more serious problem in reality, but you have the unique view about this energy transition and the IQ versus EQ. So how do you address those critics claiming that fossil fuel is at odds?
Well, you know, I talk a lot about different things in the book, and this book takes in a lot of territory and covers a lot of territory. First of all, it took in the story of why and how horizontal drilling came about. That was really the reason for writing the book. Nobody told that story. Nobody told how that happened. You had snippets of it, but over the last 30 years, that came about, and as kind of a new thing, it changed the whole trajectory of where the world was going with oil. And basically, that we were running out, and everybody believed we were running out. And so they were wanting to get off fossil fuels because we were running out of it, right? So anyway, horizontal drilling changed all that. And it led to development of the shales themselves. So instead of drilling straight down for 2 miles, we drilled straight down for 2 miles and turn right and go 2 miles further. And the wellbore becomes a drainage pattern for all these things, like shales. But it is a very timely thing, too, because we were running out. America was down to 5 million barrels a day in daily production. Today, we're 13.3. Natural gas, everybody thought we was going to be importing natural gas to America. Now we're exporting about 15 BCF a day, and by 2035, we'll be double that. And so it's very timely. It's very timely that we could export a lot of gas to Korea, Japan. That's very necessary. And just in time for all the demand coming from AI. It's going to take a huge amount of energy for AI. We all know that. And so it's very timely. But in the process, a couple more things happened. One of those was that was able to start burning a much less dense fuel. So we could get away from the coals and start burning natural gas, clean burning natural gas. In America, for instance, we lowered emissions by about 45%. So it's transition, but it was certainly a great revolution that you could do that. And this country, of course, that's huge for Korea. The first time we came here, beautiful buildings, but you couldn't see across the street hardly. So you certainly needed less dense fuel here as well. And now you're able to do that. And we've got a 100-year supply of clean burning natural gas in America alone. And so isn't that wonderful? It's a great thing. So the book covers a lot of things that turns up on its head the belief that we ought to just get out all fossil fuels. I talk about a couple things, EQ and IQ. Take the emotion out of it, the emotional quotient, and get on to the smarter things that you can do with energy, the IQ. instead of burning, that's a quick one, is to quit burning so much coal and go to natural gas to clean up the air. But there's a whole lot of other things that we can do to help society and emissions and everything else. And you have to think about it. Instead of transition, everything that we're really into with energy is addition. We're burning more wood, we're burning more coal, you're burning more natural gas, more of everything, more windmills, more energy needs than ever before. And we're at the tip of the iceberg with demand. With how much, with all the gigs of power that AI is going to pull, it's very timely that we've made all the breakthroughs that we've made so far.
지금 뭐 햄 회장님 말씀하셨지만은 지금 그 에너지가 석탄이 아직도 사실은 사용량이 계속 다 증가하고 있고요. 뭐 심지어 독일도 석탄 발전소를 더 많이 돌리고 있는데 지금 EQ, IQ를 이야기하신 거는 감정적으로는 다 중단시키고 재생에너지만 쓰면 좋겠다라고 생각을 할 수 있지만 그 결과 더 석탄을 떼는 현실에 많이 부딪히기 때문에 그렇다면은 필요한 것을 더 싸게 CO2가 덜 나오는 에너지로 트랜지션이 아니고 에너지 에디션이 계속되고 있지 실제로 완전히 죽는 건 없다라는 책인데 내용을 보시면 좀 될 것 같습니다. 그래서 regarding this again the energy transition, what might be the biggest misperception about the emotional thinking about these fossil fuels? What might be the cause of this misperception? And you say that oil and gas is evil or bad things. What is behind these misperceptions?
Well, there's a whole lot. You've got all the people that would like to have market share, all the wind industry, the solar industry, and then you've got things in government itself that comes into play that they see oil and they saw oil and gas as a power base in America that they wanted to do away with, and so there's a lot of things with policy that you can throw rocks at, Alan, that you run across.
Okay.
And in government. So a lot of misconceptions out there. A lot of it is the desire for market share that competition creates. So that's a big one. And it goes on and on a lot further as well. And so anyway, it's you fight it one at a time, but facts are really tough things to get around. And when you start reducing air pollution by 45% in America, that's huge. And suddenly, they don't lie. That doesn't, and people start having to pay attention to those numbers.
I think the number shows, regardless of whatever they say, 1979, President Jimmy Carter, he stopped using oil gas, and then at that time, the U.S. policy was using more coal. And now, talking about other things, but what you are saying is using more, supplying this cheap and abundant shale gas, U.S. could have reduced more than 40% of CO2 for the last 10 years, 15 years. So don't be misled by the emotional perception of this hydrocarbon versus other things. But in reality, there is always a better ways, logical ways to reduce CO2, not unilaterally classifying something good or bad. At the last question, because he's waiting, you have a significant impact on society through many philanthropic activities. And here that students also thinking about contributing, especially Korea University is always trained contribution to the society, improving the quality of life, improving the people's freedom and everything. In that regard, what motivated you start your philanthropic this efforts all the time? And through these activities of philanthropic activities, what have you learned from this whole journey? So what motivated you to start these philanthropic activities, and what did you learn through this journey?
Well, I've learned a lot. First of all, you have to learn to give back, and that's a real big thing. Is trying to support the great things that make countries great and good. And we talked about, for instance, we're involved in diabetes. And when I first got involved with diabetes, it was something that was so unpopular, nobody wanted to talk about it. They just kind of swept it under the rug, if you would, because it was a very unpopular disease. It wasn't like heart attack, that was created a lot of emotion. It was something that came on very slowly to people, but it killed a lot of people. And it's one of the number one diseases, but it's a very unpopular thing. And so I decided we had to do something about it. First of all, we try to find a cure for it. And so anyway, it's just, I've learned that you have to tackle a lot of the unpopular things in life and try to make a difference. And so anyway, that was one of those things. And a lot of good has come of it. We've seen, the past 15 years, that suddenly it's not so unpopular as it was. Making great strides. People with type 1 having the pump available to them, that now is not a death warrant. They can live a great, fruitful, productive life, and having produced a cure for blindness with diabetes. As great researchers came up with material that did that. It's breakthroughs like that. So you learn a great deal.
Helping the medical areas so that many people can be saved from blindness or other side effects of that diabetes. If you allow one last question.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Well,
these are the future leaders, Korea and the world. And to this, if you start again at this age, so just one comment or advice to all of these young future leaders of Korea University, what would you give to them?
Yeah. Pick out something you love, something you're passionate about. That's what I did. Find something that you're just physically attracted to. I don't care if it's music, I don't care what it is that really turns your clock. You'll do better at that than anything else. So find it. You may be a great composer. You'll be great in whatever field that is, that you're naturally acclimated to do. So for me, it was oil and gas. For me, it was exploration. But find something that you can be passionate about. You'll never work another day in your life. It's fun every day. So anyway, look for that. And you may not have a clue what it is today. Search for it, though. Discover it. Find it. And learn about it. And love it.
That's great answer. 그 뭐가 돈이 되는지 찾아다니지 말고 지금 나이에는 뭐가 또 나를 패션을 갖게 되는지도 모르겠지만 실제로 내가 뭐에 흥미를 느끼고 패션이 생기는지를 앞으로도 10년 동안 찾아다니셔도 됩니다. 그 이분 제일 그 말씀은 라이프에서 패션을 내가 어떤 것을 할 때 패션을 느끼는가를 찾을 때까지 계속 도전하라. 찾은 다음에는 거기에 올인하라. 그리고 평생 동안 그 분야를 계속 천작해서 공부하라. 그게 이분의 성공 요소라고 저도 생각을 해요. 그래서 지금 나이 때는 뭐 도대체 내가 뭘 좋아하는지, 뭘 패션이 있는지를 찾는 것 자체가 과제인데 그 돈 되는 거 뭐 이런 거 찾아다니시지 말고 내 패션이 진짜 어디에 자연스럽게 움직이는지 아까 그 피지컬 어트랙션 그래서 약간 좀 해석을 잘해야 될 것 같긴 한데 그 지금 생각해도 저도 그럽니다. 뭔가 그 돈이 되거나 어떤 이익을 위해서보다 그게 정말 좋아서 한 것들이 나중에 보면 항상 크게 돌아오기 때문에 우리 지금 햄 회장님이 말씀하신 try to find the passion where you have the passion and put everything those areas you found.
Yeah, I want to say one other thing, and what we're doing today is the same thing that John Franks did when I was a junior in high school. He came and he talked about what he was passionate about. With him, it was art, and that's what he was passionate about. And you know, Francoma pottery, we all heard about that, know about it, and that was his deal. But he said, find your passion. Well, here I was working at a truck stop, you know, pumping diesel, fixing flats, and I looked around and thought, what have I got to be passionate about? But I got to looking around, and there was a bigger world out there. There's an exploration play that was going on right there at Enid, Oklahoma. And some people in oil and gas that was really bigger than life. And pretty soon I wanted to study and I wanted to be like them. Always give back. What you're doing, JJ, is great. Give back.
Giving it back always. So ultimate goal should be helping or doing some contributing for the society for others. If you really seek for your own interest, there is always a limit and regret, I believe. So cannot agree more.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's completely in line with our business school's direction. I talked about 4 texts. We also have 3 C's: curiosity, asking why. That's the starting point, I think, and collaboration and contribution. That's what we are emphasizing. It was certainly a very inspirational discussion. Now, some of you may be really anxious to ask questions to Mr. Harold in person, so we can spend about 10 minutes taking questions from the floor. If there's none, maybe we can go back to JJ and go on with that. So, is there any? You can ask questions in Korean, then the AI will do the translation for you. Okay. The person in the center with the glasses, you raise your hand first, and then I'll go to. Yes. It's working.
Hello?
It's working. Go ahead. 이거 돼요. 잘 들려요.
Thank you for coming. I think it's my first time to learn about you. Is almost 15 years ago in United States. Right now, actually, I'm teaching petroleum geology. I think my students are quite shy, so I want to ask you a question. So, because my first homework, because this is first week of the semester, and my first homework is go find out what Mr. Hamm is talking about in this class or in this session. So my question, it's not a question, but I think it's common circulation is, okay, so United States has an abundance of resources. And in Oklahoma, you can find any places, you can find pumps almost everywhere. But in Korea, actually, we have very limited resources, almost no resources, especially for the oil and gas. So for the G&G guys here, and geology and geophysics guys here, the undergraduate students, and they want to have passion, as you mentioned, but the reality we are facing is we don't have resources much. Then if you are in this situation, what is your comment about that?
Recommendations for Korean students majored in geology and geophysics where we don't have any oil and gas potential. So you can apply to him.
He may have to come to America.
yeah.
Please come to America.
Yeah, please come to America. Yeah, it's yeah, oil and gas may not be your career here, but you've got great companies that are involved, of course, in oil and gas here, distribution, everything that ENS is, and not just here, but they're involved in production all over the world. So you've got great companies here that's done what we do, and done a probably much better job. But
Maybe I can add some in Korean because as a business unit in this area, 그 한국에서는 뭐 여기 우리 최동수 대표님 와 계신데 저랑 이제 오랫동안 일하셨는데 한국은 오일가스도 안 나오고 또 오일가스에 대한 이런 인식이나 이런 것 때문에 그 전공하시는 분들 근데 다녀보면 제가 보기에는 한국 분들이 워낙 뛰어난 분들이 많고 또 딜리전트하고 아니스트하기 때문에 얼마든지 해외 나가서 뭐 이 잡을 구할 수 있고 또 대우받을 거라고 생각을 합니다. 이 부분은 우리 본인이 해외 쪽을 우리 최동수 대표님이 EMP 쪽에서 지올로지 하면서 수십 년을 보내셨으니까 해외에 어떤 기회가 있는지 어떤 공부를 하면 어떤 기회가 있는지를 한번 말씀해 주시죠.
예, 반갑습니다. 저는 이노베이션에서 EMP 사업을 34년간 하고서 한 3년 전에 은퇴한 사람인데요. 사실 저 이제 77학번입니다. 고대 지질학과 77학번인데 학교 다닐 때 페트롤리움 지올로지 안 배웠습니다. 안 배웠는데 이제 그 당시 유공이네요. 지금 SK에서 석유 개발을 하면서 사람을 처음 뽑기 시작해서 그러니까 회사도 뭐 하는 사람을 뽑아야 되는지 모르지만 지질하는 사람을 뽑아야 된다는 생각에서 뽑았고 저희들도 배운 적도 없는 학문을 가서 저부터 아까 퀘스천부터 시작했습니다. 이게 터미널로지의 퀘스천부터 시작해서 배우려고 하고 그리고 열심히 하고 하다가 보니까 성공하고 그래서 뭔가 리스판스가 오고 내가 열심히 하면 뭔가 이룰 수 있다는 생각을 갖고 하다 보니까 30몇 년간을 할 수 있었고 그러다 보니까 이렇게 여러분한테 이런 얘기를 해줄 수가 있게 됐네요. 그래서 뭘 하면은 뭐 할 수 있다. 이렇게는 얘기할 수 없어요. 지금도 마찬가지입니다. 지금 AI가 뭐라고 얘기하지만 지금 AI 공부하면은 여러분들이 졸업한 다음에 AI에 뭐가 될 거다라고 얘기할 수가 없습니다. 하루가 다른 세상이니까. 하지만 여러분들이 뭔가 열심히 하면은 여러분들이 세상에 나왔을 때 필요한 어떤 분야에 뭘 할 수 있을 겁니다. 그게 여러분의 열정하고 맞으면은 같이 해서 성공할 수 있지 않겠냐. 그래서 GNG도 지올로지 기본적으로 에너지라는 거는 이제 우리가 계속해서 필요한 분야니까 에너지를 공부하고 있으면 여러분들이 언젠가는 성공할 거라고 저는 믿습니다. 감사합니다.
예, 다음 아까 손든 학생 여전히 질문 네 거기 white shirt. 예.
영어로 질문을 하고 싶었는데 영어 실력이 부족해서 한국어로 좀 여쭤보도록 하겠습니다. 일단 질문하게 돼서 대단히 영광이고요. 제가 지하 구조를 탐사하는 걸 되게
Maybe
좋아.
you can look into the tab.
I'm not finding it here.
It's out. 제일 밑으로, 네. 제일 밑으로 가야 돼. 그래서
네, 제가 지하 구조를 탐사하는 걸 되게 좋아하기도 하고 그래서 석유라는 자원에 좀 관심이 많아서 이제 석유 산업에 좀 종사하고 싶어서 이 강의에 좀 들어오게 됐어요. 근데 저도 이제 석유 산업에 종사하면서 사업 같은 것도 좀 하고 싶고 또는 석유 산업에 이제 기여를 좀 하고 이제 그쪽으로 취직을 하고 싶은데 이제 지금 학부생으로서 할 수 있는 게 아까 말씀해 주셨지만 뭐 에너지 쪽이나 석유 자원에 대해서 열심히 공부를 하나도 있지만 아직 학부생으로서 너무 명확하지 않은 것 같아서 사실 그것도 질문을 하고 싶으니까 학부생으로서 어떤 노력, 그러니까 지금 당장 어떻게 해야 그쪽 산업에 좀 더 가까이 갈 수 있는지, 왜냐하면 방향을 왔다 갔다 하면 더 안 되는 게 돼버리니까요. 그리고 만약에 제가 혹시나 석유 관련 사업을 하게 되면 이제 기술 지원을 이제 어디서부터 받아야 되고, 또는 제가 어떤 기술을 탐사하기 위해서 약간 그 도움 같은 거 받아야 될 텐데, 회장님께서는 어디서 그런 도움을 초반에 창업하실 때 받으셨는지 그것도 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
I think his question is quite tough. And let me rephrase his question.
Okay, please.
He's so interested in oil industry overall,
Yeah.
which is big industry, so many different fields. But he want to develop himself and prepare himself, especially in technology-related areas. But nevertheless, so many different areas that he doesn't know where to ask, what to know, what to first and what to next. All these things still in the kind of chaotic, I'm not chaotic, but very uncertain situations. And he's asking you, when you started, you might be even worse situation, do not know anything about oil industry, you still started. So how did you started your oil industry career when you have nothing or no one to really rely on? So he want to get some ideas and some.
And where did you
Okay,
get some
I got
help?
it. I got it.
from
I
whom?
can, I can go with that. First of all, you're doing the right thing right now, and that is asking, reaching out and asking somebody that has the knowledge. One thing about those people that I described early on in our industry, you know, they're great people. The reason I got into this business is that they were generous. They would share everything they had, but they'd share the knowledge that they had. It didn't matter if it cost them millions of dollars to learn about, you know, underground geology perhaps. They'd share it with you. That's what our industry is about. And so that's how I learned. I had people that mentored to me when I asked them those hard questions. You know, what do you do here? What do you do there? I was out of high school 10 years before I could go to college and get all the geology that I needed in this industry. But it's available, and people will share it with you. You do just what you're doing right now. You reach out and ask them. Continue that.
That's a good answer. Reach out, ask questions now.
That's right.
Okay.
You're doing
well,
exactly what
I
you
think
ought to
we
do.
can go on like for hours, but maybe we can afford to have one. Are you a student, sir? Okay. Yeah. Why don't you go ahead?
Thank you for the brilliant presentation. It's a singular honor for me to be part of this event. In the year 2015, apparently all the countries of the world assembled in Paris to declare the Paris Agreement with the objective to respond to climate change through adaptation and mitigation. And recently we've seen nations of the world mobilizing towards clean energy technology, such as electric vehicles, renewable energies. So I want to inquire, what is the fate of the oil and gas industry in light with the energy transition towards low carbon technologies? Thank you.
Let me answer the first part.
Okay.
So we clearly remember the 2015 Paris Agreement. And on the day one of Mr. President Trump, he exited from the code. We know that. But people do not know, in reality, during Mr. Trump period, the CO2 emission of the United States reduced, while China and all other countries increased. So that's why he's saying it's because US coal was replaced by shale gas, which is less than half of CO2 emission. Whereas other countries claim that we agree and we'll do everything. That was a propaganda, but in reality, facing difficult economic situation, they used more coal. So you're right. The countries agreeing on Paris Code is one thing, but in reality, what you actually do matters. So in that regard, in this industry, he's doing everything cheaper, less CO2, carbon capture investment, all those things. So industries should be evaluated based on how much CO2 they are producing, rather than what kind of agreement or policy they are adapting. So in that regard, I can assure you by the numbers and result that oil industry and gas industry is doing everything to reduce. And by the number in US, they reduced, as he mentioned, 40%. But in industry itself, through a whole value chain, we have the very specific goals, and US financial statement and SEC requires a reporting. So Paris Agreement or policies or politics, all those things, don't be misled. We have to see what is actually happening in the field and how much CO2 is coming out of all these activities, rather than judging what they say or what they agree. Doesn't matter. And maybe later on he can explain the very specific technology innovations and development that industry is doing to lower the emissions.
Thank you.
Yes, very, very good answer. Very, very good answer. I couldn't do any better. One thing I'd like to say before we leave, we're going to have oil and gas for next 100 years. And one of the things came out of the summit that we had in Oklahoma City last year, we do have a 100-year supply of clean burning natural gas. So of you that want to study in the petroleum industry and oil and gas, you know, you've got a career there that's going to be there an awfully long time. And so the demand's going to be there. We will be using it. We have to be smarter about how we do it. And, you know, there's CO2 injection and subsurface underground sequestration, all those things. We just need to be smarter in what we do.
So for your information, I can add that recently Mr. Hamm had another project, which is the biggest carbon capture project in the world. In the US, in the Midwestern cornfield, a lot of farmers and growing the corns. Half of the corn they produce is used to produce, turning into ethanol. In the process, multi-million tons of CO2s are coming out. So what Mr. Hamm did was developing pipeline from those farmings 2,000 miles north of Dakota, and then sequestration to the ground. So all those CO2s captured and then transported 2,000 miles north and then sequestrated to the ground again. So annually, it's not completed yet, but it's made a very big progress, $5 billion project. That project will reduce 16 million tons of CO2 per annum, which is the largest project in the world. So one side, we doing everything, but also those projects. Instead of talking about policy, who can reduce more than 10 million tons of CO2 per annum? We are just doing such a project.
Okay. Well, again, there must be a lot of questions, but you know, we all have things to do after this. Looks like Mr. Hamm, you're going to receive a lot of job applications from tomorrow, I think. Yeah, or ask him questions. 유익한 강의를 해주신 햄 회장님께 그 지구 환경과학과 유재경 학생, 예, 그 College of Earth and Environmental Sciences, Miss 유재경, she will present you the flower. Go ahead. Thank you. Now, thank you for coming. We will have the last photo op. If you will, you can join us. Everybody, come up here, and we'll have take pictures.